super old. I'm 46 years old. My God. Sometimes it's hard that I started off with my age like that. It's kind of shocking. It's like when you're driving in the car and you go past an accident with like foam and they're putting out a fire and you're just like, oh, look at that, and when you say your age, you're like, whoa. Like, there could be a YouTube supercut of senior citizens or anyone over 30 saying their age. Just supercut. I'm this many years old. Do that. That's a vibe. A drone. A vibe. It's What's the Matter with Me podcast. My name is John. I'm 46 years old. That is rough. It blanks the mind when you say your age and it's like a really high number. It like obliterates everything else. Your brain says back to you when you say your age, your brain is like getting you back. It blanks on you because it's like, how dare you say how old I am? I'm your brain. I've been here the whole time. I haven't taken a second off. I'm your brain. I've been through everything you've been through. I'm stuck in your head. You like to get out of your head. But I have no such luck. It would be interesting to have a conversation with your brain. I wonder how it would feel. I hope not resentful. Why resentful? It's like, what have you done with your brain? What have you done with your... What did they call that? Like your bodily husk. Your mortal husk. Okay, I'll settle for that because I can't remember what they call a bodily... Is it called a mortal husk? I don't know. That doesn't sound right. Hold on. So, in Dante's Inferno, the mortal husk refers to the human body that the souls of the suicides cast off when they took their own lives. As a punishment for rejecting the body, they are transformed into gnarled, thorny trees and bushes in the wood of the suicides. This appears in the second ring of the seventh circle of hell in Canto XIII of the Divine Comedy by Dante. The trees can only speak and weep blood when one of their branches is broken. They are tormented by the harpies, monstrous birds with the faces of women who tear at their leaves. On Judgment Day, while other souls will be reunited with their body, the suicides' physical bodies will be hung from their own branches, eternally separated, but also a constant reminder of their sin. Kinda harsh, sounds dramatic. It was Dante. That's an AI overview of Dante, so I'm not even diving deeper there, but that's a mortal husk in the Divine Comedy, the Inferno. I fell on my butt in the laundry room right outside my room at night again, and I broke my rib again. It's really sucks. So it like a lot's going down my body in that area, the laundry room. It used to actually be the garage was one house, and then the house, the bedroom, the where you live was like another house. And in the 80s, I think they combined them into one house. That's where we live now. But the laundry room used to be like the breezeway between the two houses. So it's like exterior walls. So I fell and it hit my back against the wall, but it was like the corner of the old house. It was very solid, and it hurt. And it's still, it definitely kind of hurts. I'm past the stage where it like hurts to cough or any of that, but it's like achy. I took an ibuprofen this morning and a Tylenol at lunch. So I'm getting over it. I'm living. It's not bad. But I fell and broke my rib again. So I'm just trying to get it together, man, and string these rehabs together and try and get back into one piece. I wanted to give some shout outs real quick. Want to give a shout out to Rocky, shout outs to Matt, shout outs to my Empress Nami, the one called John Little Coco. I see you, that's word. Shout outs to the Sandman. Been checking that out on the radio, feeling the Sandman is good. He's on KFJC from Saturday 6 to 9 a.m. They call him Jeremiah Johnson. Goes by the name. So we listen to that. Sometimes he gives me a shout out on the air, so I gotta return the favor. Shout outs to Jersey Girl. She wrote in. Jersey Girl, she's a KFJC DJ. She sent me a couple of weeks ago. She sent me an article that they ran on KQED, which is a TV station and the NPR affiliate and PBS. So it's headline. It's by Sydney Johnson. Date August 25th, 2025. A place for us by us. San Francisco's Disability Cultural Center breaks new ground. Nearly 5 decades ago, frustration over the government's lack of urgency to make public buildings more accessible reached a flashpoint. It was April 1977, and more than 100 disabled protesters staged a nearly month-long sit-in at a federal building in San Francisco's UN Plaza. After 26 days, support from groups like Black Panthers and allies like George Moscone, the activists successfully convinced the country's Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare to implement the long-delayed Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act that had been passed in 1973. That law prohibits discrimination based on disability in programs that receive federal financial aid. The protest became recognized as the 504 sit-in and paved the way for the Americans with Disabilities Act more than a decade later. This summer, The city moved the legacy forward, opening the nation's first disability cultural center, located directly across from San Francisco City Hall. It took a while to start to see things change, but the ADA ushered in new building standards. New buildings had to be accessible in very specific ways, said Deborah Kaplan, deputy director at San Francisco's Office on Disability and Accessibility. The 504 sit-in protests sprouted up in cities across the country in 1977, and Kaplan participated in Washington, D.C. All of a sudden, I could go places and not have to scope it out in advance and worry there was no way in or worried that I couldn't use the bathroom for new places. Kaplan said of progress that has followed in the decades since. Activists like Kaplan have pushed San Francisco and the nation to raise accessibility standards for decades. Having this space of belonging, celebrating disabled joy, and having the disability community seen right across from City Hall, it's so incredibly unique and powerful, said Eli Gellardan, director of the city's Office on Disability and Accessibility. And today it's bustling, classes and film festivals. A cool article on the Disability Cultural Center in San Francisco. The center is on the ground floor of the Kelsey Civic Center in San Francisco. Thanks to Jersey Girl for sending that in. I think it's polite to wear a shirt, and they're good for that. You put it on, no one's going to bother you about not wearing a shirt. No one's going to be like, hey, put your shirt on. You're going to be like, yeah, I got one. Hey, put a shirt on. That makes it seem like it's more argumentative outside in my life than it needs to be. It's not like that. I usually have a shirt on. People don't yell. Even if I didn't, though, they would be like, can I help you? Or like that one time I went into the breakfast spot and my underwear fell out of my pant leg, and the guy was like, sir, your underwear. Yeah, go back in time, man. Something happened at Bill's Cafe. This was back in January 2019. Something happened at Bill's Cafe. I ordered coffee and toast. John got pancakes. Tap on my shoulder. He's like, excuse me, sir. Is that your underwear? And, I was like, thought he was going to ask me if I wanted more coffee. January 2019, it's good that I have this podcast to record the times that my underwear comes out in public. Whoops, something happened. I had a meeting with my primary MS doctor, not my primary care doctor, but my MS. He's like a neurologist. He's the MS guy. And he was telling me there's a lot of new advances in multiple sclerosis. Like he was saying it's like a golden age. He was like, I think we'll look back on this time as like a golden age of MS research and discovery, and he was talking about all these new medications, and they're called, I think they're, let me get the name right before BTK inhibitors, Bruton tyrosine kinase inhibitors are a class of drugs that target and inhibit the activity of the BTK protein. BTK is an enzyme that plays a crucial role in the development and function of B cells, which are white blood cells that produce antibodies. So there are new medications, and I'm not sure if the BTK inhibitors are one, but because they have FDA approval. But my doctor was talking to me about a class of medications for MS, and they can do things like cross the blood-brain barrier. Cross the brain-blood barrier where your brain has like its own blood and it's hard to target. Like in MS, the brain gets inflammation, I think, from these B cells, and they can't target it the same way. Like you can't just take an anti-inflammatory. It doesn't work in your brain because of this blood-brain barrier. This is like we're 35,000, 40,000, we're 125,000 feet cruising at the edge of space in terms of my scientific knowledge here. Like, this is beyond. But what my neurologist was trying to tell me is that there's new stuff on the horizon, like immediate. And he was talking about, like, I take my medication every 6 months, and like I'm taking it later in a couple of weeks actually. And he was talking maybe 6 months from then, I could be on a new medication. And I could be dealing, my B cells are causing inflammation in my brain. Can these new medications restore functioning? Can they get me out of my wheelchair? Can they get me walking more? And it seems like they kind of can. There are some articles along with some videos I've seen of neuro rehab patients, of people getting up and out of their wheelchairs. So there's like something going on with brain plasticity and remyelination and all the holy grails that MS people have been trying to get together for years and decades, and they're close to it, I think. So it's kind of given me a new hope for the treatment. Like, we're all going to see some kind of evolution in neurological treatment in the next 5 years. I mean, we've seen it in the last 5 years, but we'll see even more. And they figured out some key stuff, I think. Getting the medication, being able to target inflammation across this barrier and target inflammation in my brain and plasticity and remyelination, and to even think of all that stuff is pretty wild. John had a resolution. He was talking to counselor at school. He had some kind of dust up after school with the other kid, and they were having kind of negotiation to end it. And the counselor asked John, what is your perfect resolution? If this was a perfect world, what does the resolution look like for you? This is my son, John. And John answers, he goes, in a perfect world, there'd be a medicine that would cure my papa from MS. Like, he wasn't understanding the question the lady was asking him was about the dispute he was embroiled in. But John took it bigger. He was like, what would resolution in a perfect world look like? And he was like, Papa cured from MS. And then like a week, 2 weeks later, I had this meeting with my doctor. And he was like, there is new medication. It's a big deal. And this is going to be, like I said, this is going to be something you look back on and you say, wow, man, that was critical, a corner turn there.